You're listening to the 40 Fit Radio podcast, dedicated to the 40-plus community. Join us as we discuss the truth about fitness and health using science, reason, and the experiences of our host and content experts. Welcome to the 40 Fit Nation. All right, guys, so welcome back to the 40 Fit Radio podcast and welcome back to the 40 Fit Nation. I'm here with Coach Trent.
Good morning.
And we are here this morning to talk about why so hard. And what we're really going to talk about is when your program is progressing, whether it be in cardiovascular or aerobic training, fitness training in general, and definitely in strength training and what we do mostly in our gym. When your program gets hard, why is it so hard? So this is kind of a funny conversation that Trent and I have had recently. Several trainees. I have a class that's mostly, it's a women's barbell class. And if you've coached male clients versus coaching female clients, there's a definite different dichotomy there. It's definitely different coaching the two different genders.
Definitely.
Not that women aren't strong and not that women aren't tough and all that stuff. In fact, in some cases they handle pain better than males do.
Yes.
They handle struggle better than males do. But if they haven't been conditioned by that and they haven't ever been under the bar, it's hard to understand why so hard. Why does this have to be so hard? So we were in the gym the other night and I have a class of about 5 ladies. And the class has really started to grow. We in our gym, we have a maximum of 6 lifters that we will allow in a class with one coach. We have 3 platforms. That way it's 2 on each platform and a coach to circulate throughout the gym. And so now we have 5 ladies in this class. And one of our trainees, which was my wife, and by the way, my wife is getting crazy strong. So Missy is getting really, really strong. So I'm very proud of you, honey.
Crushing it.
But yes, she is crushing it. She's doing great. And she was pressing, and the press has gotten really heavy for her. She's doing 5 sets of 3. And it wasn't hurting or anything, but it just got really heavy. And she got done with the press, and she put the bar down. She's like, ugh, this is so hard. Why is this so hard?
Yeah.
And
She's just reevaluating all of her life choices at that moment.
Everybody in the gym was laughing. We were all kind of laughing. We were like, but that's a great question. Why so hard? Why does training in general or anything in life that's of significant value in general have to be so hard? Now, I think we could go into a lot of philosophical reasons why that is. And I love what guys like Scott Hambrick and Matt Reynolds have done on Barbell Logic, talking about voluntary hardship. I like what Scott's talked about in great online books and just or great books online, however they
Online great books.
Online great books. There we go.
You had them on it, yeah.
But just talking about some of the great philosophers and the Western works of literature and how that's a central theme in a lot of those pieces, and that there's this concept of voluntary hardship, and that's something we could talk about too. But really, why does physical training have to be so hard? There's a very simple reason that we are going to go into in the next episode in full scientific detail. But basically, there has to be a stressor that's greater than what your body can tolerate eventually, especially as you become a more mature trainee. And then there has to be recovery afterwards, and all the parts have to be together for that. And then out of that, the outcome is that you adapt.
Right. And
and that you get stronger, or you get more cardiovascular able, you get more capacity, aerobic capacity, you get more flexibility, you get more whatever the physical quantity that we're trying to develop.
Right, right. Yeah, and so we talked about that back in the some of the early episodes when we were discussing just the fundamentals of strength training.
Sure.
Because it's probably, most easily gauged in strength training, where you've got day one, you lift a certain weight that's a challenge for you, that constitutes a stress. You recover from that. And when you first start weight training, you recover from that in 48 hours. So you come back, you train again, you add 5 pounds, right? And so the 5 pounds constitutes the additional stress, and you have to do 5 pounds more, because if you don't, then it's not a stress anymore, right? You've already adapted to the lower weight. Now you have to do more weight. So we talked about that. So if you want to revisit some of the earlier episodes, that would be episodes 1 through 10. We call that our foundation series. You can go back and hear kind of the building blocks that are walking up to
Yeah.
where we are now.
Yeah, and I think you know, we're going to talk in real scientific specifics, like I said, next episode. But I think for this episode, a quick and dirty, just why so hard. I think some of that is with all clients that we train. I've trained individuals, clients in several different fitness environments, in CrossFit, in general fitness training, personal training, in strength training, triathletes. I've trained triathletes for one in particular triathlete, female trainee that I can think of. She's actually in Scotland. Hey, Ashley, what's up over in Scotland? But
Scotland.
Yeah, in Scotland. But the Scots, I'm Irish, so yeah, give up on the Scots. But basically, and she was an Ironman candidate too. So we used kind of a high intensity interval, less volume, more intensity type training model for her to do her Ironman triathlon. So I've trained a lot of different individuals in different environments. But the one common thread is at some point in your client's progression, they're going to go from being a novice in whatever they're doing, and things are going to get really, really hard. And at that point, what happens? My experience has been, unfortunately, that a large majority of individuals, when stuff gets hard, when they hit the wall, when things aren't going quite the way they want it to seem, they then quit or give up on that particular model of training or give up on that endeavor. And I think that's human nature. That applies to everything in life that we do: career, education, relationships, spiritual life, emotional development, financial commitments, all those things. It's kind of human nature.
Yes.
What we're hoping is that through training and through what we're doing here at 40Fit, that we are providing resources and awareness and knowledge and a perceptual improvement on the fact that things are going to get hard, guys. That's not a bad thing. That is the natural progression of your program. And when it comes to fitness, and here's the beautiful thing about this: if you can see it through and you can become creative about how you work with your coach, you work on your program, and sometimes it's trial and error with each trainee, with each client. It's a little different. Sometimes I'll program something for one of our clients and it works really well, and sometimes I'll program something and it doesn't work at all. And it's the same thing I've applied to another person who had a similar. There was a similar cohort,
Right.
but it didn't work on this person as well. And so we know during the novice progression, during the NLP, that everyone responds to that. Everyone responds very similar to that, some better than others, but everyone responds. From that moving forward, it is going to get hard. The hard is good. The hard is needed. And without that, humans don't grow. They don't, for lack of better terms, adapt.
Yeah.
And so we've got another trainee in the gym, and she's at the middle of her novice progression, and I'm seeing the wheels turning in her mind now that she comes in. She's relatively strong naturally, and when she started, she came into the gym. It was like bam, bam, bam. 3 movements: squat, press, deadlift, done in 35 minutes. I'm out
Set
the
them up,
door.
knock them down.
Yeah, and that's probably because I started her too light, but that's another discussion. But I wanted her to have a positive response, a positive experience.
Yeah, build the habit of coming in and
building
training.
form and function and consistency and getting her workouts in. And now we've dialed in her nutrition. This week is the first week, thank God, that I've got her to track her macros and start to look at what she's actually eating. And she realized yesterday, hey, I got my protein in, but I've only had 900 calories today. And we're trying to have her gain muscle and lose body fat. And I was like, that's not enough food,
It's
but
gonna
I was
catch
like,
up with you.
but it's great that you got your protein in at
Right.
least. So we're getting down that road,
Yeah.
but it's hard. And yesterday she was in the gym, last night she was in the gym training, and she was doing her work sets, and she was like, man, this is getting really hard. I was like, I could see the wheels in her head turning. Is this really worth it?
Right. Right.
Is this work? Is this going to work? Is this really worth it? So one of the things that I've found that has helped my clients is to relate their experience to other experiences. So I told the ladies in the gym, I said, guys, if you're not following Woodmere Fitness Club, which is Ina Kopel's gym, which is an all ladies gym,
Yeah.
then you need to be following her on Instagram and Facebook and watching those ladies' experiences, because seeing like-minded people and other groups and being able to relate your experience to that experience can be a very positive thing and can help our clients help you through that rough spot, that sticking point to where it's going to get really hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, and look them up on YouTube too. They've got some fantastic videos. I know of at least one long form interview where Ina talks with several of her gym members about their experience and how did they started, what their experience has been lifting, and a lot of mothers there with young children, so they've got busy schedules and it's crazy and stressful, and they still have found a way to come in and train and be consistent. And
I think it's important with when you're lifting or when you're doing a strength program or whatever it is, a fitness program, you might think you're kind of all on your own, especially if you have a really small community, or if you're going into a 24-hour or a corporate gym and you're training on your own, you feel like you're on your own. So it's good to connect with a larger community, a larger audience to help you through the hard. And it's very important too, at some point in your fitness progression, you're probably going to have to hire a coach. If nothing else, for programming or just for a review of what you're doing, how you're doing it, making sure that it's outcome driven, that you're progressing in a manner that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyone can read Starting Strength. Anyone can read Practical Programming. Anyone can read a myriad of books that are out there. Sully's book, Barbell Prescription. Anyone can read those books and learn. But there's nothing like having someone who does this all the time, every day, that having their insight when they've had thousands of hours of training other clients and training themselves. In our case, in our world, with our strength coaches, we practice what we preach. And so, but it's going to get hard, guys. It's the natural progression of things. Take advantage of the novice progression.
Right.
Don't miss your workouts. Be consistent. Develop your habits when things are easy. I love that scripture in the Bible that says, if you're faithful with little, then you'll be given much. And so I think there's a lot of wisdom in that statement. And, devoid of the religious side, just in that general concept, if you are faithful with the little things and the simple things, when you're going through your progression, when it's easy, you think, why do I need to, it's no big deal. I don't need to do that. I don't need to warm up. I don't need to do that. But eventually you're going to need all those components that your coach has told you to do or to perform in your training. You're going to need those components when it gets hard,
right?
When it gets heavy. So we're building that foundation of habits.
Absolutely. And, I think, I think you made a good point in there, and this kind of takes us back to an episode we did a couple episodes ago about training outside of your element.
Yeah.
I find, and this is something that you really get when you go see a coach, a lot of coaches work out of great gyms. And I know from personal experience, for about a year and a half, I trained out of my garage. So it's by myself, usually training in the evenings and after a long work day. And it's easy when the weight gets hard to just think, man, I could just be sitting on my couch right now, watching a little TV, watching the game, whatever it is.
Sure.
I could have a beer.
Sure.
Instead of being out in this garage suffering under this barbell. And I found always when I'd come out to your gym, the old Saginaw gym.
Yeah.
And train with
the
you.
Old Saginaw gym.
Old Saginaw.
It really wasn't that old.
It sounds like a country song.
Yeah, it sounds like something Johnny Cash or Waylon Jennings would sing.
Maybe we need to write that. But I'd come out there and I'd train with you, and of course there'd always be you had open workouts. Lots of other people doing the same thing, doing starting strength, and it's amazing how my heavy sets that would have crushed me by myself in the gym weren't so heavy once the pressure was on. It's like, oh, Coach D's over there, and I think that community really does enforce this. When you look across and you see somebody else squatting heavy, and you can just see the effort and how hard it is. For them,
sure.
You're like, okay, all right. Yeah, I'm not alone.
Plain and simple, shared suffering is easier.
It is. Yeah.
Shared suffering is easier because there's a sense of commonality there. There's a sense of shared experience. It's just easier to suffer with other people who are doing the same thing. And ultimately what we're trying to do is improve our fitness, improve our quality of life, improve our strength, I have a client right now, she's 66 years old, Yesterday, she deadlifted 117.5, and she's a little bitty thing. She squatted, I think we're squatting right at 110, and she failed the last rep. She's doing 5 sets of 3. She failed the last rep of the last set and almost failed the last rep of the 4th set because she does 5 sets of 3. And it's getting really, really hard. And I saw a look on her face that I have never seen before so far. And it looked like she was hurting. So I asked her, she's had some previous back problems. I said, are you hurting? You know, as a coach, I just kind of stepped out there and said, hey, are you hurting? Is this hurting you? She said, no, it's just hard. And I said, okay, then I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. You're not hurting. Everything's good. She said, that face is just because this is hard to lift. And I was like, you have already won the battle. She's 66 years old, and she lifts probably more than 99 out of 100 women out there. I said, you've won. You've won. If you were to stop right here, you've won. And at that point, and at some point too, we've got to recognize when the hard needs to not be so hard anymore for a while, and we need to back off. And we've got an episode coming up where we're going to talk about kind of that, what we're working on is kind of a perfect hybrid program that allows individuals who get into that mode to where, I mean, let's face it, guys. If you're over 40 and definitely over 50, there is going to come a point, and I'm kind of at that point in my lifting progression now. There is going to come a point to where you're going to be pretty dang strong and very able and have a very high capacity level, but your connective tissue and your joints are starting to bark at you a little bit. And getting stronger might supersede other more important things. In other words, getting stronger is the most important thing. And I know this is going to be heresy to some of our strength coaches out there, so I need to preface this statement. Getting stronger is the most important thing until you're crazy strong. And then at that point, where do you make the decision that, you know what, I have a reasonable strength for my age, my weight, my size, and my need in my life. And now I'm noticing that my joints are barking at me a little bit and connective tissue and blah, blah, blah. How much more is enough? How much more do I really need? How strong is strong enough, you know? And I'm know that you just recorded or just did all the production work on Strong Enough.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So how strong is strong enough, you know? And so we're going to talk about that in an episode. And at some point, the hard, and I say that to say, at some point, the hard does have to lighten up a little bit.
Right.
You've got to give your body a break.
And usually, you know, in my experience, those people, you have to help them slow down as a coach. Right, those are the people who go and attack things, and they've created the mindset already to take on hard things head on.
Right.
And there's the point where they get to a certain strength level, you know, and especially like you said, older athletes, and you've got to, as a coach, you've got to help them manage the load so that you're like, that intensity is great, that mindset is awesome. Let's manage things a little bit, so that you can do this 5 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, we have a training right now. We were working on this programming this morning. I mean, we have a very small gym, but Trent and I have committed ourselves to 2019 that every Tuesday morning is our team meeting. He and I, our big team of he and I, and so, you know, our 2-man team is meeting every Tuesday morning to go over our trainings, to go over our gym, to go over the programming, to go over our action items for 40 Fit, to be methodical about it, to be just as driven and organized about that as we have been about our own training or other areas of our life. And so we talked about him this morning for several minutes about, you know, what's really, as coaches and as him being one of our clients, what's really of significant value to him now? We've made him strong.
Right.
He's very strong for his age and his size, his body mass. So what's of important value to him? So we asked him, you're reasonably strong. You're stronger than you've ever been in your life. Right. And we did that in about 3 months, I think. He's been with us for about 3 months. You're the strongest you've ever been. You've been CrossFitting for 10 years. 8 years. And you're stronger than you ever were in CrossFit. And you're still reasonably aerobic and reasonably able from a conditioning standpoint. What's important to you now? And we talked about that. So we're going to restructure his program, kind of a hybrid model, to allow him to continue to gradually get stronger over time and maintain, I hate to use the word maintain, but keep that strength from declining over time, or as slow as possible decline, and then work on other areas that are important areas to him. But at some point, the hard has to shift. It has to change. And the hard will not always be there.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. You know, what we're talking about here is really the end of the novice phase. You know, whatever training modality you're talking about, there's that novice phase of adaptation, and at the end is where it gets maximally hard. And I think it's maximally hard from a physical standpoint
And perceptual.
Because you just haven't been exposed to that level of hardness.
I think the more
hardship.
the more you lift and the more you're coached correctly, not just your own perception, but the more you lift and you're coached correctly, the more hard becomes more accurate, I think. It becomes the concept of hard and the perception of the grind or rate of perceived exertion, whatever you want to call it, you get better at qualifying what real hard is.
That's right.
Because you have more data. You have more to look back on. You have more hard experiences to look back on.
Yeah, exactly. So you fast forward from the end of the novice phase into an early mid intermediate program like a heavy light medium scheme, for instance,
right.
where once a week you're going heavy, right? And you're doing, let's say,
and it's still hard every week.
And it's still hard, right? Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's not easy, that's for sure. But in that context, you've accumulated enough truly heavy reps that like you said, you realize like, okay, yeah, that was pretty hard. It wasn't the top end.
Right.
You know, that it wasn't easy, wasn't crazy hard.
Yeah, my trainees, our clients will always say, you know, I love light and medium days. You know, if they're on an HLM program or an HLH program, they're like, golly, I love Wednesday and Friday, if that's how it works, or or Thursday, Saturday, however it works. And I do the same. I'm on kind of a modified HLM program, and the first of the week is tough. It's brutal, you know, and it's not something I look forward to, but I recognize that the first of the week builds the rest of the week. And so I'm not having to do hard as often. Now, here's the other thing that happens. Hard has to, if you're pushing to be competitive in the strength world, or you're pushing to get crazy, crazy strong, more so than the majority of your cohorts, hard gets harder.
It does.
The
it has
intensity,
to. Right.
the stimulus to grow has to go up exponentially to get your muscles and to get your body to grow that extra little bit of strength. And for a lot of individuals, that's not of significant value to be on the very thread, the frontier of strength. But for some individuals that want to be competitive or they have a particular goal in mind, that's really important. I think what we're really saying today is basically this. Strength training is hard. Fitness programming should be hard. If you have a coach and it's easy, or you have a personal trainer and what they do with you is easy, that's probably not good training. If you have a personal trainer for you and everything's always hard and they thrash you and trash you every single session, that's probably not good either. And so there's a right kind of hard. And we believe here at 40 Fit Radio that the first hard thing that you should always attack in fitness programming is a strength foundation. And then from there, build all the other 9 general physical skills on top of that. But when it gets hard, don't be surprised. Just, lean into it. Make sure you've got a outcome-driven program. And make sure that you've got good guidance in that program, but recognize the hard is coming and just embrace it, enjoy it, and take the opportunity to look back at where you've come from to recognize, like I told my wife the other day, hey, honey, you're pressing your 1 rep max for sets.
Right.
You know, I know it's hard, but you're doing more than you've ever done. You've broken through a frontier of strength that you never experienced, and you're in your 50s. Oh, I'm sorry. You're in your 30s. So, but, how many times does that happen, with women or men, either way?
Yeah.
So, we get to experience something that others have not made the choice to experience, and that is we get to experience the results of the hard.
That's right. Yeah. And the fruit's just on the other end.
Yep.
It's just on the
Absolutely.
other side. So,
well, thanks for joining us on this podcast on Why So Hard. And this was just kind of a little quick podcast just to throw it out there to basically give you some exhortation that you can do this and move forward and press through it. Make sure that you're thinking about what you're doing and you're not just doing. Make sure that there's thought and that there's programming and that you're taking the time to look at the results of what the work that you're doing is producing. But if you want to find us on Instagram, you can find us at 40 Fit Radio. You can find Trent at Marmalade Cream. You can find me at DL Deaton. On our Facebook page, it's Facebook Community Group. We are getting ready to modify that. We're working with kind of a social media guy to help us with that area and see how we want to pursue. We recognize that more of our population of aged individuals, when I say more of my population, but Trent is an old soul, so we'll throw him in there too. But they're probably on Facebook. So we're trying to create better ways to get our message out at 40 Fit Radio. Also help us by sharing our podcast, by liking our podcast, by giving us a review on the different podcast software outlets. If you want to email us, you can email us at info@40fit.com. You can also go to our website and go to 40fit.com, and you can go to our gym website too. And you can go to the 40 Fit Radio tab and look at all the episodes there and more information. Man, what a great episode. And thanks for joining 40 Fit Radio, and thanks for joining the 40 Fit Nation.